Welcome back, everybody. We're very glad to have you back with us to learn more about Spiritism. Today's module is our third, and it's called Spiritism and Allan Kardec. Let's get going. Spiritism, as we know, is the third revelation. If you recall from modules 1 and 2, the first revelation was Moses, the second revelation was Jesus, and now we're going to learn more about the third revelation, Spiritism. As we learn from the Gospel according to Spiritism, Spiritism is the new science. It's that science that has come to reveal mankind by means of irrefutable proofs, the existence and nature of the spiritual world and its relationship with the physical world. As we learn from the Gospel according to Spiritism, the definition of Spiritism is the new science that has come to reveal to mankind by means of irrefutable proofs the existence and nature of the spiritual world and its relationship with this physical world. That's why it's important to understand what Spiritism really is. What about what Spiritism is here to do? As we learn, Spiritism is here to help us achieve everything that we need in a more explained and easier way. In other words, it really is destined to open our minds, to give us knowledge, to give us the path that we need to take to learn more about our lives, our future, what are we doing, where we come from, and etc. Spiritism as a principle, the revelations between the material world and the spirits or beings of our invisible world. So it gives us the tools that we need to understand, to explain those relationships, mediumship, if you will. However, Spiritism, so we can understand it better, has three different aspects, or three different pillars or facets of its conception. The first one, as we know, is its scientific aspect. Why is it scientific? Because it investigates, it experiments, it proves in a systemized way and really defined laws and facts around the phenomena of life, the nature and thought and feelings of human beings. From its religious aspect, it gives us ideas, logical facts. It gives us causes of natural effects. It generalizes and synthesizes, more importantly, all the notions that we have about Jesus, about God, the concept of life, death. All those are very well explained into the Spiritism phenomena. Its scientific aspect, because it uses scientific statements and philosophical conclusions to make results or make understanding about our lives, about divine laws, about God, all about the things that we sometimes are not able to comprehend from our scientific mind. Spiritism gives us a better understanding from a scientific point of view. What about the characteristics of Spiritism? Some of its characteristics, again, we only have a limited amount of time. We invite you all to go deeper on knowledge. Please, try to delve yourself into the knowledge of Spiritism. Here we're going to give you only some nutshell, only some bullets, so you can really awaken your interest to be able to understand more about Spiritism. As we know, Spiritism, it's the divine revelation and work of cooperation between incarnates, ourselves, and discarnates. Allan Kardec himself was a man, was no medium, but he was a man of faith. And so, he went in to try to demystify, to try to uncover the wrongdoings that those people were doing, gathering those messages, gathering those teachings that later on became the Spirit's book, and so many other works from Allan Kardec. He himself went in with a very unbiased mind tried to uncover, tried to find out more about those communications. Those communications were from the spirit world towards incarnate mediums and so forth. Spiritism has its impersonal effect or characteristic. It's not the result or the revelation of only one spirit, nor the work of only one man. We mentioned Allan Kardec because he was the compiler. He was the person who put together all those messages that would later on become the Spirit's book, Gospel According to Spiritism, Medium's book, Heaven and Hell, Genesis, and so many other books that he himself published. We invite you all to go deeper on Allan Kardec's works. That's how we can learn more about Spiritism. Even the words Spiritism, Spiritist, and a couple of other ones around were crafted by Allan Kardec himself. Spiritist is the name given by Kardec to whomever believes in Spiritism or in its doctrine or its teachings. If we go back to Jesus' teachings, let's quote John chapter 14, verse 15 and 17. I quote, "If you love me, keep my commandments, and I'll pray to the Father, and he shall give you another consoler that may be with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, for it doesn't see him, neither knows him." Jesus is teaching. Jesus is telling John that we need to pray to our Heavenly Father so that our God, our Creator, will send us a promised consoler. That consoler will be with us forever and ever, giving us messages, giving us knowledge, giving us a better understanding around our sufferings, our atonements, our difficulties, and etc. And as we learn from the book called The Consoler itself, the evangelical Spiritism is the consoler promised by Jesus, which through the voices of redeemed beings, it spreads the divine lights all over the earth, reestablishing the truth and lifting up the veil that covers the teachings in its Christianity, received from other to make men wake up to the great era of Spiritist comprehension with Christ. In other words, the Spirit Emmanuel is telling us that Spiritism helps us better understand, better comprehend, and better connect with Jesus' teachings. So, what is Spiritism all about? Spiritism gives us many teachings. It presents us with knowledge that most often were not thought of, practiced, or even imagined beforehand. Spiritism gives us the answers of many theological and conceptual questions, philosophical questions, that most of us did not have a good grip, a good understanding of them before Spiritism itself. It tells us who we are. It tells us, or it explains to us, where we came from. Who were we before? It gives us a good understanding of what's going to happen after a physical death. It takes away the conception of death. It puts it in a different perspective of a transition instead. It tells us or explains to us the reasons why we are in this world. It really explains to us why some people suffer more than others. The causes of wealth and poverty. Why some are healthy and some are very ill. It tells us about where my good actions come from. And also it tells me where my bad tendencies may come from as well. It gives us a good understanding around our addictions. And most importantly, it really can explain where we come from, why we are here, and where we'll be going next. That's why Spiritism really opens, spreads our knowledge, gives us better understanding of life for what it really is. So, let's go back and revisit Allan Kardec himself. Allan Kardec, the compiler of Spiritism, was the Frenchman who, in those conversations with the spirit world, were able to compile those messages. They were coming from all over the world to really become Spiritism or the Spiritist thought. We need to convince ourselves that it's necessary to, as Emmanuel very well said, feel Kardec, study Kardec, meditate Kardec, analyze Kardec, comment his works, interpret Kardec's works, cultivate Kardec within our own lives, teach Kardec to our children, our loved ones, and also, most importantly, disseminate his ideas, his works, and his knowledge. What about the synopsis of this Frenchman's life? Allan Kardec is the name that he chose so that the works of Spiritism were not associated with his birth name. He was born on October 3rd, 1804, under the name of Hippolyte Léon Denisard Rival, in Lyon, France. On March 25th, it was the first manifestation of the Spirit of Truth. On April 30th was the first revelation of his divine mission, the mission to develop or disseminate Spiritism to humanity. On April 18th, 1857 is the first edition of the Spirit's book. January 1st, 1858, the first issue of the Spiritist magazine, published even these days in English and many other languages. On January 1st, 1861, the first publication of the Medium's book, a compendium, a guide for mediums and practitioners. In 1865 was the publication of the Gospel according to Spiritism. In 65 still, was the publication of Heaven and Hell. In 68, the Genesis. And on March 31st, 1869, the discarnation of Allan Kardec. As we know, his life was mostly dedicated to Spiritism. Ever since he got to know about Spiritist ideas, he dedicated himself, him and his wife, Amélie Boudet, to the works of Spiritism, publication, dissemination, Spiritist centers, traveling across France and Europe back then to really visit other Spiritist folks and so forth. Allan Kardec was the person chosen by spirituality to be able to carry out that message, carry out that mission. Of course, there are other ones, other spirits around him that gave him the support or the assistance needed so he could carry on his message. That same happens to us, every single one of us. We have those spirit friends who are, from an incarnate and a discarnate perspective, are always helping us execute, carry out our missions, our activities, and our projects in life. What about the basic works of Spiritism? I'm going to mention only a couple. First, Spirit's book, then the Medium's book, a guide for mediums and practitioners, the Gospel according to Spiritism, Heaven and Hell, Genesis, posthumous works, and Spiritist philosophy. It's also important to mention that many places around the world, there are Spiritist centers. The most important organ that controls or that guides most of what happens inside a Spiritist center is the International Spiritist Council. You can visit their website for more information. You can see here, International Spiritist Council. With that, we're concluding our third class on Spiritism and Allan Kardec. We hope to see you all back in for our next module. Thank you and have a great day.